feels like the end of an era. So much has happened over the years. The Cutie Mark Crusaders have reached their story's conclusion. That they finally reached this point seems surreal. Finally reaching its end. Greetings, everyone. I am Dr. Wolf, and I'm here on the California coastline, having just watched The Last Crusade. And I have to say, I am impressed. I am thoroughly impressed. When I read the synopsis for this episode several weeks back, I had suspected that the reason for the CMC no longer being able to be the CMC probably had something to do with Scootaloo having her family come back, and there being a situation where she would have to leave town. I was thinking, you know, this would be a prime example where the lesson would be all about moving on, finding the next step in your life, learning about how things can't stay the same forever. It would have been quite interesting to see this show tackle that kind of message. But while this story did not go the way I had thought it would, I am impressed with the lesson that they were teaching. Managing to keep the CMC together, teaching Scootaloo's parents more of the lesson. And, to be honest, in a very good way. In a very good way indeed. The story comes down to Scootaloo's parents. We find out that they've been traveling the world. They've been studying exotic plants and dangerous animals. And yeah, that's a fair way to get the explanation of why we've never seen her parents before now. I'm sure that the writers really didn't have that in mind several seasons back, that they were kind of making things up as they were going along, but it's a pretty good way to make us believe why Scootaloo has never shown any part of her family before now. And apparently, she's been taken care of by Scootaloo's aunts. Now, this isn't specifically stated in the episode itself, but the MLP staff have confirmed that her aunts are a couple. It's very subtle throughout the episode, and you wouldn't know for sure unless you're seeking outside information. But it works. It's not the focus of the story at all. It's very much in the background. And it's nice that for an episode like this, it's not the focus. Because this is very much the CMC's closing chapter. It's an interesting addition, but I am glad that it's not taking focus away from the three characters who we've been following from the very beginning, because it would have felt out of place in that context. I am glad to see that this is a conflict that really does feel like the end of an era. And if Scootaloo had moved on, had learned a lesson about things really can't stay the same forever, I think I would have been okay with that. I would have actually been impressed by that. And yet, the episode went in a very unexpected direction. I've seen many stories before where a character doesn't want to leave, wants to remain friends forever, and finds a way that, no, it's okay. You don't have to change things. And in a way, this story is going that direction. But I love the way that the lesson is taking what Scootaloo's parents have been doing, something very important for the purpose of Equestria, something that really only they could do, and using that to explain why Scootaloo should stay with the other Cutie Mark Crusaders. I like that, I really do. It's something that I really didn't see coming. But looking back, hey, that's actually really smart. That's creative, it's clever, and yet very relevant. The fact that Scootaloo's parents wanted her to come with them, and kind of coming up with the reasoning, well, with King Somber's return and the Tree of Harmony being destroyed, well, we just want you to stay with us so we can see that you're safe, that you're protected. And yeah, you can get behind that kind of reasoning. I think being absentee parents for so very long, where Scootaloo is maybe seeing them once every few months at best, and then suddenly deciding, no, we need to uproot you because we want to keep you safe. That's something that, yeah, it's not very well thought out. And I love the moment where Scootaloo is basically in tears, telling them, you never even asked how I would feel about it. And I'm glad that they addressed that, I really am. Honestly, this is a very difficult set of circumstances, and something that a lot of kids can relate to. Perhaps one or both of their parents have been out for a long time, and when they're finally coming back and wanting to uproot you into some place you've never been before, take you away from the friendships you've been building up for who knows how long. That's very scary for a lot of kids. Scary for a lot of adults too. It would have impressed me if the MLP writers had gone the direction of trying to show that things cannot stay the same forever. And yet, going the route of trying to maintain the status quo, by itself, that would have left a bad taste. But the reasoning they came up with, showing that Scootaloo's parents wanting to uproot her, is missing the bigger picture of how much effect they've had on Equestria as a whole. And I am especially glad that they brought back all the other characters that they've helped over the years. It was very much like reliving all the episodes that they've had together from day one. And it is a very worthwhile way of ending their story arc. While the episode doesn't have that many laughs, I think there's just a few chuckle-worthy moments. And yes, there are certainly a couple of times where the CMC are doing their typical thing of looking for a short-term solution and really not thinking things through. All in all, I very much like the angle that they ended up with. And being here on this beach looking out on the horizon, I think it's a good place for me to be for watching this episode the first time. The Last Crusade is absolutely something I can come back to and have some somber, quiet moments. A satisfying end to an era for these characters. I suspect that we'll be seeing maybe little bits of Apple Bloom and Sweetie Belle and Scootaloo before the end of the series, but if they never have any more stories, I think I am perfectly okay with that. I think this is an excellent way to end their little story arcs, and honestly, I am grateful that the MLP staff have come up with a somber end for these three characters, even in an unexpected way. I am grateful for all the lessons that these three have learned over the years. And honestly, I am especially grateful that the MLP staff have been bringing so much of their A game for this final season. In the meantime, though, I would love to hear what each of you think. What were your initial feelings when you first came across this episode? What were you hoping to see as a close for the CMC story arc? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, because as always, I am Dr. Wolf, and I think I'll be staying on this beach for a while and pondering a little bit more about life.